Well, good evening and welcome to the video for day 4 of our week of prayer. So if you've been with us on this journey, then you'll already know what this is about. But if not, we're doing a prayer week at the moment where we're basically just focusing as a church on what is God doing in and through us as a church, and actually doing a mixture of two things. First of all is kind of just really giving thanks to God for all the stuff that he has been doing. And actually recognizing him at work. And the second thing is actually then also just beginning to pray for the things that we're currently doing and also the things that we're not yet to do as well. And actually just inviting God to stir our hearts to pray for the things that are on his. So if you aren't able to make the meeting today at 8 o'clock, then this video basically just gives you an overview of the things that we're going to be praying for so that you can join us as well. So we want to encourage you to start with a time of worship, as we are doing so as a church. The two songs that we're going to be using today is Adoration by Brenton Brown and Come to the Altar by Elevation Worship. And these are two songs. One is just like, it's again, receive our adoration. It's this sense of just coming in and literally just saying we're here to adore Christ. Right? We're so grateful and thankful for all the things that he's done, and that's what we're doing. So if it's helpful for you just to press pause, find that video on YouTube and use that to help you in singing out your worship, maybe where you are right now, then now's a great time to pause and to do that. The second one is, as I said, Come to the Altar. And this is, the song is calling people to come to God. If you're broken, if you're hurting, if you need Jesus. And I would say this is the beauty of the gospel in itself, as it says exactly the same things. It's saying the gospel is to all who are weary, who are broken, there is hope, and our hope can only be found in Jesus. And more particularly when we choose to give our lives to God, that he may work in and through us. So again, if it's helpful for you to grab those two songs, get that ready, just have a little bit of a quiet worship time, then I want to encourage you to do so. So, next thing is just taking a look at the stuff that we have already prayed for during this week. So we started off on Monday evening with this prayer meeting that just went on for ages. And we were praying celebratory prayers, thankful prayers, just going through and just taking time just to remind ourselves of all the awesome stuff that God has been doing from the 1740s right through till now. And actually that was one of those prayer meetings where it just kicked off and people were so ready to worship. So that's point number one. Number two, we then moved on to day 2, was to pray for the growth of our church. And so what we were doing there was we were basically just looking at in what ways can we grow as a church. And we weren't necessarily talking about bums on seats per se, but actually much more about, Lord, may you grow us as Christians. May we as believers have more depth in you. And we prayed for growth, looking for both salvation and baptism, but also in discipleship, in depth, in spiritual and biblical maturity. And we prayed for the infrastructures that actually are already in place for that. Last night we had an incredible time of prayer as we prayed for our children's work, from everything from Messy Church right through to the groups that we're launching come September. Today we're going to be looking at evangelism. So we're going to start with a Bible verse. Our Bible verse for today is taken from Matthew chapter 9, verses 35 to 38. Jesus traveled through all the towns and villages of that area, teaching in the synagogues and announcing the good news about the kingdom. And he healed every kind of disease and illness. When he saw the crowds, he had compassion on them, for they were confused and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. He said to his disciples, "The harvest is great, but the workers are few. So pray to the Lord who is in charge of the harvest. Ask him to send more workers into his fields." So today we're beginning to just take a look at actually, we've got responsibility. We looked the other night at the idea of the Great Commission, to go out and to make disciples of all nations. And that's very much on the heart of us as a church, that it's not just we're a cool club for people to be able to get together and have a nice time, worship God, enjoy spending time together, and then go home and make no difference to the world around us. But actually, we are called to make a difference in the world around us. So that's what we're going to be praying for. But again, as usual, we're just going to take a moment just to thank God. We have seen so many people become Christians, particularly over the last 6 years, and that's just been fabulous. As we've said before, for us as a church, probably half of our congregation are people that become Christians in the last 5 years. That's an outstanding statistic, and something that we don't just want to be like, hey guys, look how awesome we are, look at all the things we're doing. But actually what we want to be able to do is actually just give thanks. Like God has brought this, and we as a church have been open and ready to receive. And I think that's basically what we're praying for as we're looking to move forward. So if you would like to join us and pray for this, just take a moment just to thank God for all those people who have already become Christians over the duration of the time of us as a church. So this is a chance for you to press pause and actually just say thank you to God. So we're going to pray for probably the most obvious method of our evangelism. And we've talked about our coffee shop has just been an absolutely incredible place, because we get to be able to build meaningful friendships and relationships with people as they walk in through those doors. And what we've then found is that because of that friendship, which we've earned their trust over time, that when people then begin to find themselves in some sort of a difficulty or with questions that they just can't answer, that actually it seems logical for them to then come and have conversations with us. And the amount of conversations of faith that we found ourselves in simply because the doors are open. And that's one of the big things that we've just loved for us as a church, is that the front doors of our church are literally open nearly every day of the week, with the exception of Saturdays at the moment because we haven't got a breakfast chef, right? So one of the things that I want to encourage you to do now is to pray for the ministry, not the business, but pray for the ministry of the coffee shop, and pray for more meaningful friendships that have got Jesus at the center of our community. That's the thing we keep talking about, is that if as a church we have got Jesus at the center of our community, you enter our community, the inevitability is you're going to meet Jesus. And that's really our prayer. So now's a chance just to press pause and to pray for that. One of the other great tools that we've been able to use so far has been our Alpha courses. And our Alpha courses have been every one that we've run, including that really awkward one that we did in the middle of lockdown and everyone was doing on Zoom. There's just been something really special about Alpha. And again, looking around the church, I can see that so many of our congregation have done the Alpha course, and many of them have found faith midway through that Alpha course, because it gives such a brilliant opportunity for people to be able to just worship, to ask those awkward questions, and actually just meet Jesus in the midst of it. So I want to encourage you to pray for Alpha. We're about to launch another Alpha in the first week of September, on the first Thursday in September. And this is going to be a great opportunity just to invite more people to come to that. So I want you to pray for the ministry of Alpha, but also pray for the up and coming Alpha as well. So press pause and let's pray for that. We run multiple events during our annual calendar. These can be anything from a sunny Sunday. We used to do a lot of those. We haven't done a few for a while because actually we've had a couple of Sundays that have been so hot. I dare not do a sunny Sunday because I worry I'll lose half of my congregation to heat stroke or worse. But we've done sunny Sundays where we've pulled the PA system out and we've just printed off the songs to the services, and we've just worshipped God outside. And we've had some amazing conversations with people as they've walked past, because of us doing church without walls, so obviously out there, especially as we're coming out of lockdown. That was one of those moments where we were able to worship together, but it also set the scene, and we began to continue those. So that's something for us to pray about. Like, is there a way that we could potentially do a few more of those during our year? One of the other things that we've done is multiple times, so at least twice a year, we do a fair. We do a summer fair, and then we do a winter fair or a Christmas fair. And these are opportunities just for us to open the building and just be a social space and get a chance for people to be able to come in and just enjoy our building. But at the same time, that we are who we are. The coffee shop is open, that there's all of our memorabilia about and all the stuff that clearly states that we're Christians. This is a great chance for people to get a glimpse of that. So that's one of the other things. And the last one is we do things called Festival Fridays with the coffee shop, which is, again, putting on some sort of a concert and, again, just inviting people to come who maybe wouldn't normally step foot into church to get a little bit of a glimpse of that Christian community, and quite often having Christian musicians singing Christian songs. And so this is a great chance to be able to share the gospel in a non-obtrusive fashion. So there's a few things to pray about as we press pause. So Sunny Sundays, the fairs, and our Festival Fridays. So press pause and pray for those. The last thing that we're going to pray for specifically, I've got one extra, but the last specific one that we're going to pray for is, I've put it as flags and website. We made a big thing a few years back about making our church hugely visible, both as an online presence, so across our social media platforms and our website. Luke made a fabulous website from Digital Panda, and so he put together a beautiful website that is just a pleasure to work your way around. And we get a lot of people who log on to that site and who get to know more about us and then come and find us. And then the other one is just because of our flags and our signage right by the front road makes people realize that we're open, that we're a church, that we're doing stuff, and that actually there's likelihood we're a little bit relevant. And so we found people who have come to us as a church because they found our website, or they've seen that we're visible. And two examples of that, even just recently, was that for those of you who know Lauren's story, like just that joy of her kind of coming to Jesus on her own, really, and then beginning to like, where can I be baptized? And that journey that then led her to Google, which then our website came up, and she found us, did an alpha course, and got baptized with us. And the other person, a great one to do with our flags, is we've got a couple of lads that have just started coming along to our church, and that's purely because of the visibility. If you want to experience church, or you've got questions about it, makes sense to turn up. Well, where should I turn up? Well, these guys have got flags out that look like they're doing stuff. And so there's two things: flags and websites. We want to be able to signpost people into church, and the hope is that they would find Jesus once they meet us. So I want you to pray for the visibility of our church. Press pause. Let's do that. The last thing, and this is the last thing is this. I don't want for us as a church just to be able to sit back and pat ourselves on the back and say we're doing a great job. I think the reality is we could do so much more. And this is just a chance just for us to say, God, open our eyes to see what you're doing out there. Because believe God's on the move. He's doing stuff. And I don't want for us to get trapped into our little things that we're doing, get so excited about the us stuff that we actually miss what God is already doing. As I've already explained to you, like, two people find God outside of church because God meets them. And then they happen to find us. Like, we need to be more on the ball as a church, and with our hearts to the ground, almost kind of saying, Lord, what are you doing? How can we get involved? And that we as a church need to start to take our responsibility of evangelism seriously. And so this last point is just to pray, Lord, would you break our hearts for the lost? Would you cause us, everybody in church, to kind of grasp that this is a journey that we're on, not just sit back and allow those that are slightly more gifted in it than others. So this is your last one to pray for. Guys, I want to thank you for joining us for today's video, and log in tomorrow as we look at our missionary organisations and the different charities that we're involved with.